Hi there. Thanks for joining today. It looks like most people have connected up. I'm sure others will come through as we kind of proceed with today's session. And yeah, for those that don't know me, I'm Sam. I head up the account management team at Futrli. I've been here for a couple of years now, and we're going to be running through how to use non-financial data to add that extra wow factor. I see some familiar faces on there, so Adrian and Declan and Emily. But yeah, for those that know me, as I just kind of introduced myself there, and also got a account management team, as Ron and others as well, that you might also be aware of. Today's session will be recorded, so I will send this out following the session, as well as any kind of handouts and things that we might think is relevant. So you should have all the material and the collateral following today. If you do have any questions as we go through today, if you just want to drop that in the Q&A function of Zoom, I'll probably come to that at the end of the session. We'll probably use the first section just to run through the substance of it, and then leave a good 20 minutes or so for the Q&A setup. As you can see, I am working from home, as I imagine the majority of you are, or maybe you've started getting back to the office, but we're still pretty much working from home. I do have a small dog that likes to bark at things, so if he does go crazy, or if we do drop out for whatever reason, we'll just kind of kickstart and go straight back into it. Hopefully that doesn't happen though, touch wood. So far we've been pretty smooth sailing. So I'll share my screen and we'll jump into it. Cool, so hopefully you can see my Futrli account now. And what we need to first do is build out some non-financial data, because obviously that's the main component of today. So we just do that simply as a spreadsheet. We can use the template. So if you go into the organizations, then go into the client by clicking on the settings here. Then we've got the non-financial data tab here. So in this area of the settings is where we do any like grouping and kind of basic admin. It's also where we upload the non-financial data. If you then hit upload, we can then download just a quick little template which kickstarts us there. But I'm just going to build it out straight from scratch by using a blank got a spreadsheet here. First, we'll give it a name here, non-fin upload. That will do. And then the basic 4 columns we need are date, parent, child, and result. Okay, it needs to be exactly named as that. It needs to be only 4 columns. It's really simple, straightforward, non-financial data kind of setup. Then the date format needs to be the year hyphen the month hyphen day. Okay, again, it has to be exactly in that format, otherwise Futrli won't be able to read it correctly. So I've done incorrect year there. So we're going for February hyphen 01. Great. As I'm sure you know, we can just drag it down, so that should then do the whole year, almost. Great, we've got it there. So now we've got our dates in. When you're uploading non-financial, you can upload it on a daily basis, or weekly basis, or a monthly basis, like I've done here. Depends on how you're reporting on it. If you're reporting on a monthly basis, then putting it at the beginning of the month is absolutely fine. But obviously, just change the date according to the data you're uploading. The parent is going to be our category. So, like income is a category, that will be what parent is. You then got child, which is a subcategory. So like within income, you might have bar sales, restaurant sales, food sales. So we're going to do a non-financial example of using customer headcount. I think customer is obviously a really important one for a lot of businesses, because obviously most clients have that end kind of customer point. It's also a good one in current times when clients are looking to open their doors, and maybe they're thinking about how many customers can they get in their business due to social distancing, or just generally the footfall that they might receive. So I think customer headcount is a really good one to add that extra wow factor to your reports. But certainly just engaging with your clients, speaking to them, finding out exactly what keeps them up at night, that is going to be the most important piece really of this. We don't want to just necessarily put a blanket non-financial report out to clients. The point of non-financial data is to really make it particular and precise to what that client needs. You can do it by sectors. I think really understanding what that client wants and then being able to deliver that is the key thing with all of reporting, really, or forecasting. So I'm going to give it a name here. As our parent, it's going to be customer or customers. I'm going to drag it all the way down. And we then want a child category. We're going to be having two child categories, which in this case, I'm going to do bar and I'm going to do restaurant. So it could be two different areas of the business. So I can put bar here. So I'm going to copy all the way down. But instead of then having to kind of add a new row so we get it in date auto, it doesn't actually matter. So we can just copy all those dates. We can keep customers going down. But in here, we can now put in food, for example. Or let's do restaurant. Let's keep it the areas of business. Restaurant. Cool. And now in the result, we're simply going to be putting in the figures that reflect that non-financial data. So in this case, it's going to be the amount of customers in the bar area that we're thinking, or the client has proposed to you. As you can see, obviously, we've got a combination of actual data and forecast data because we've got kind of previous months and then forecasted months. You can also rename it. So you might have your parent could be customers actual and then customers forecast, or even use a child to do that. I've just put it in the same one there. When we start to present the data using these specific date ranges, we'll be able to clearly see what is forecast and what is actual. So in the result, I'm just going to put some kind of figures in here just so we can kind of run them through. Maybe not thousands. So obviously I'm just making these up. I imagine yours will be a bit more precise. Okay. Just get a bit of fluctuation going, and then we can then use it, like I said, to work into some reports. Cool. So there is rather, our finished non-financial data spreadsheet. All we need to do now is simply just save it as a CSV. So we'll go download, and we'll download it as a CSV there. Cool. Again, it needs to be in a CSV format like that so that Futrli can read it. If you then go back to Futrli, we can then click on the upload button. You can either search your computer by clicking on select file, or you can drag, if you've got that function in your Google Chrome, for example, and then just upload it straight away there. Then you'll see that we've got a little upload wizard. So it'll just take you through to ensure it's all correct. We can just review the data. Looks like it's read it absolutely fine. It'll be at this sort of stage where if you've done the date wrong maybe, or missed out a parent for one of them, it will tell you and you'll be able to redo up the upload. But it's nice and straightforward. It's all done. Great. So now we've got the figures uploaded. We can then see a drop down of what we got there. We can now start to use it in Futrli. So what we're going to do is build out a forecast and then incorporate it, and then build a report out that uses the non-financial data. So for this, we're going to jump to the forecasting tab. Here we then get a list of all our clients. And we're just going to jump into one of the forecasts here. So again, we've got all these options depending on how you want to build a forecast out. So quick recap, Scratch is kind of like a blank one. CSV import, uploading one from Excel, create from a copy. If you've got one in Futrli and you want to copy it, or we've got last year's actuals here. So here I'm going to use the advanced create on last year's actuals. I give it a name. Let's call this forecast with non-fin. We've got the duration, anything from 1 to 10 years. I'm just going to put it as a 1 year, just so we can look to the immediate future. And we then got the start date. Again, you can put it back if your book's only up to date until May or something, but we're going to leave it as this current month. Then down here, we can apply some changes to the P&L. But what I'm going to do is remove income, because what I'm going to do is actually link the non-financial data to the income figures. So I'm just going to remove it entirely there. And then click build. Cool. So here's our forecast, which we've built out. You'll see from that graphic there, obviously taking out income is never good for business. It's dropping right down. But we're going to put some income in there to make it a bit more realistic. So as always, we do all the work in the workings tab. You can look at the three-way independently by clicking on the profit and loss, balance sheet, or the cash flow there. Again, but no receipts. It's not a healthy business, is it? But then in the workings tab is where we're going to now input those figures. So we open up income, open up non-wedding. We can then start to see these individual categories here. So we've got ones that relate to the non-financial data that I've uploaded for this business. So we've got beverage and we've got food. We can start to now add in these figures. So if we go to beverage non-wedding and click on the plus here, and then if we use the formula method, this is where we can then link that non-financial data there. So in a formula, you can link any of those colored labels, so a category like income, an account like bar sales, a group that you've created yourself, non-financial data that we're uploading, or a formula. And as always, you can search for it by simply typing in here, searching through, and you can see them there. Or you can click on see all, and you can then see your non-financial data over here. So in this time, I think it was the bar I was doing. Yeah, beverages. So we've now locating our bar non-financial data. If we then go times, let's say each customer is going to be spending £50 in the bar. We can then scroll down and we can change these details again. So we can put maybe that's going to be binning at the end of the month. No credit term. Just going to hit save there. We can now see that pen through. We've now got that figure whacking through there. So simply now looking at the non-financial data that we've uploaded, it's the amount of customers in that bar. We've times it by 50, and that's now our forecast all the way through there. And because we kind of removed the income effectively by doing that non-financial, that last year's actuals forecast, we've got two lines here. That's the minus 100%, so nothing. So I'm just going to delete it. Otherwise, it would annoy me that I've just got a blank one there. And then we do the same then for the food non-wedding. We click on the plus, go to the formula method, click on see all. We can then go to the non-financial data, click on customers. We've then got restaurant here. So here, if we go maybe times 100, so let's say each person is kind of priced at 100. We can again start at the end of the month if you want to, how often you want to repeat and all sorts. But if we just hit save there. Cool. We've now got our forecast on the food. Again, I'm just going to delete that 0 there. Cool. So now that's our two links then. You might want to now add in, I don't know, venue hire, which could be not non-financial data related. You could upload more non-financial data that's relating to it. In this case, I'm just going to put in here, maybe just a straight 2,000, start at the end of the month. It's going to repeat monthly. Maybe on venue hire, I've got a 30-day credit term. As always, we can see how those journals are working by clicking on the journal defaults. So we can see that three-way working there. VAT is handled automatically. We can then hit save. Cool. And before, I'm just going to delete that. So again, then we've then got another income group. We've got wedding here. So I'm going to do the same as I did before. This time is a different category. So this is wedding and non-wedding income. Click on the plus. Use the formula method. I'm going to locate it this time by clicking on bar. And then maybe in this time, it's going to be only 25. Then hit save. If I do the same for food, we can type in here restaurant times 35. Then hit save. Cool. And I'm just going to tidy that up by deleting those 0 1s there. Ruler. Okay, it didn't like me deleting that, did it? Let me jump back into that. Cool, it deleted them. Good. So now we've got kind of the start of our forecast ready. You just build through that forecast as always, delivering it and adding in a scenario that you think is relevant, the client might have told you, and so on. So now we've got our non-financial data inputted into that forecast. So we can start to now use this forecast and use previous actual data and start to build out a report. I'm going to do this in the boards section. So you're going to come to the boards here. We can then click on new board to load up a blank board. I'm going to call this bar restaurant. So we can then add a card. We can now build up a, you can effectively use non-financial data in the vast majority, if not all of the cards. But we're going to be using a report card for first. And here I'm going to do a customer growth rate. So effectively going to build up our own KPI based off the customer data that we've uploaded. I'm going to do this only for like past data. So this could be an actual analysis. So I'm going to select the client. I'm going to select only actual data. And I'm going to look at this calendar month and the previous 6 months. So that should then take us from January up to the current month. Then in the report tab, we can now build up that KPI ourselves. We'll see the income's added there, but we're going to delete that in a sec. If we click on new formula, if you were to use a pre-built formula, you can just select them from here. But we're going to build up our own customer growth rate. Give it a name here, customer growth rate. We can then search for those KPIs. So if we now search in here, let's just simply search for the parent of customer. So now we can then do minus and then the previous customers here, like that. And now because we're looking at the growth rate, we effectively need the present data to be taken away from the past, like that. We're going to whack it in a set of brackets. We're then going to divide it by customers there. So now we've got customers minus the previous month's set of customers, but we're going to be, again, doing it by the previous period. So now that should give us our growth rate. We want to change the currency, though, to percentage, because we're looking at the percentage growth month on month. When you're then happy with the whole formula, because you built out your own, you can copy it to the formula library. That then ensure that whenever you're on that list of formulas, or if you're just simply adding it as a row, it will then appear for you to use again. You then click confirm, we'll see it added there. So now we've got it added, we can delete income. We don't need income this time, we've just now added our own. And we can then change maybe the way that it's presented. Firstly, I'm going to put on customers as a kind of a reference in the table. But what I'm going to actually do is change the display so it doesn't display in the chart, because all I want is the customer growth rate shown. And we can then change the customer growth rate to a different chart. So let's change it to a spline, just so we've got a moving kind of smooth line. So we've got the table and the chart selected. Then in the columns, I don't want the variances really, because I'm just showing a chronological time frame. We can then click done. Okay. And there is our first KPI. Just double checking it looks correct, because I'm just putting in some random growth rate that does look correct. Yeah, perfect. So there's our first KPI, which is specific on that customer data. We can expand out the categories again and really see what that client is experiencing. So that's kind of first bit of use there. We can then click on add card and we build out another one. So in this time, if we use another report card, we can maybe do customer numbers versus income on a forecasted period. So we can then see the relationship between the amount of clients that are coming through the door versus the money that then kind of hits the till. So here we can do customers versus income. I'm going to select that same client. And this time I'm going to select just forecast data. Here we then got the scenario selected as forecast with non-fin, the correct one. I'm going to do this calendar month and the following 5 months, I think. I guess it's to December. We'll see in a minute. I'm rubbish with, with months. If we then go to the report tab, we've got income there already, so this time I don't need to delete it. But I'm going to now search for our customers again. This time I'm going to turn off the table. I just want the chart. But I'm going to use two different chart types. I'm going to have income as the column. Then I'll have customers as the spline working over it. If I then resize that so it's the same size as the other one, and click done. It's a bit too long, really doesn't look very good. Let's do that. There we go, perfect. So now we can see a direct correlation between the amount of customers and the income that's derived there. Cool. So this is already now maybe an elevation of what the client might be previously receiving, because obviously financial data is incredibly important. But when we now starting to include non-financial and financial data, the client can really bring some extra weight to that analysis that you're providing. I think it's really key to see the relationship, as is quite key with this. We've linked customers with income. We can now start to see the impact for that client, and we can see and use previous kind of relationships such as customer growth rate, and maybe use that to then forecast out. So maybe if around July we always see this huge increase of 900%, we can then start to really kind of run with that. If we now add another card and use the profit and loss, we can then just simply add a profit and loss at the top, expand all the way out. Let's use that company. And this time I'm going to use forecast and actual data. I'm going to use that same forecast we've used, but I'm going to set the year end to be end of December on the previous 11 months. So we've then got their full financial year then. If we then go to the report tab, I'm going to turn off the chart because I just want the table in a P&L. Then in the columns, I'm going to turn off the variance and just leave the total on there. And then click done. So this is using non-financial data because it's within the forecast, but we're not necessarily kind of clearly displaying it as a row, really. It's just within the profit and loss. I think it's good to have the kind of base financials to back up the analysis that we're putting there. But you could always add another row down the bottom, or even a chart at the top within the card to show customers or however you thought was relevant. But here we're showing the first 6 months of actual data confirmed by that kind of end bit of shading, and is then bleeding into the forecast as you move forward. As always, you can open up the categories and jump into the numbers, and we can then start to use these figures down here to see the relationship between the non-financial data and the financials that we've started to put into that client. So that's only a 3 set of KPIs with the P&L. By all means, use them in any of the kind of reports, really. When you've then finished with the report, we can hit print directly from here. As I said, I think in the previous how-to webinar that we did on kind of management accounts for effective reporting, we can build out a set of management accounts here if a client wants to log in and see them, or you can use it on presentation mode. And you do have the option to print directly from here. But if you only have the intention ever to print it as a PDF, you may as well just use the print to report builder, because we've got more customization really in there if it's just for that purpose. But in here, we can use this option because it quickly just puts each card onto its own page, and this sort of simplistic overview can be quite useful if a client wants maybe both options. That in a way is pretty much what I wanted to cover today. I know a few questions have come in, so I'll certainly look to come to that. But on financial data, certainly is something that is not too difficult to put into your reports, but can really start to elevate the reports that you're building out. By listening specifically to what the client wants, we can then pull out great analysis such as customer headcount. But again, with non-financial data, the options are almost limitless. Because like with a set of KPIs, you can build out anything really the client needs. So it could be anything from amount of products they sell, or occupancy rates in hotels and all sorts. It's a really good resource to add the extra wow factor. Cool. That's pretty good. First comment I've seen from someone on here says, "Mind blown! This is awesome. So glad I tuned in. That's great. It's probably the best thing I've had so far with these webinars." So yeah, now's your chance is to whack in the Q&A function. I see a few in there. So by all means, whack in if you have any other questions. I've got a question here. Can we edit non-financial data every month on month? So yes. So I think if you're asking if you upload non-financial data, can you then edit it once it's in there? So yeah, effectively when you upload non-financial data with that date, say of the first of the month, if you upload another set of non-financial data with the same date, parent and child, it will then ask you which one you want to keep, and you can then overwrite it with the new one. So like with forecasted data, a client might give you one now, and then next month it might change. So you simply just upload it, it'll then ask you which one you want. And you can also, like I said, upload on any date. So if you're doing it on a daily basis, upload every day, first month, second, and so on. But yeah, hopefully that answers that question. Obviously, the fact that you can't speak back, if I haven't quite got it, then do ask another question and I'll get there. But cool. Another question, can you pull data directly from Google Analytics? No, not currently. We are looking at integrations with that, with the Futrli platform, which is our new tool, which is kind of serves a different purpose. Have a look on our website for more information on that. Google Analytics is right up there with the integrations that we're looking at. So at the moment, no, but yes, in the future, hopefully. Cool. I got a question here as well. In terms of the input spreadsheet, do you use the downloaded template or as you created the sheet? If your data is the first tab, can you have other tabs to do the calculation of the data? So you don't have to use the template. I didn't use a template. I just built it out because it's simply date, parent, child, result. If you had multiple tabs, I've never tested that. I know you need it to be only in those 4 columns and in a CSV format. I would imagine if you had multiple tabs, that's going to confuse the upload. Give it a go though, but you could by all means have your spreadsheet that calculates things and then just copy it into one separate file. Yeah, I would think you would need to do that, but I'm not 100%. But I don't think you can have multiple tabs in a CSV actually. So I think it will have to be simply the one tab. But yeah, by all means, just do the 4 columns, upload it, and then you're in. Another question here, can you set prices for parent customers for using the formula builder? Would you have to use the value in the formula every time? Can you set prices? Let me just reread it again. Can you set prices for parent customers for using the formula builder? Or would you use the value in the formula? Well, so that you could put the price as your result against, so you might have your parent could be products, your child could be the type of product, and then the result could be the amount. You could do it that way. So yeah, you can be quite creative, I suppose, with the amount of data that you can change, because it's simply just those 4 column options, and you can then put whatever you really want to in there, as long as it's a date, as long as it's words and the next 2, and then as long as it's a figure. So yes, I think you can, in short, by doing it in the result column. Cool, got some questions that have come into the chat box, which is all good. So is there a max to the amount of non-financial data sets you can upload? I don't think so. I imagine there's probably a max somewhere if you started uploading millions every day, but I don't think there's a maximum. I've never seen it been breached. So yeah, certainly try and break it to that level. That'd be really good use of Futrli. But yeah, I think you can upload as much as you want. If I need to update the info on a monthly basis, do I have to start afresh with a new upload each time? Or what is the most efficient way to update on a monthly basis? So you would have to upload every time you need to change the data. But you could just use the same spreadsheet. If you use the same spreadsheet, then overwrite the numbers with the new figures. As mentioned before, it'll then ask you which one you want to keep. So you don't need to build out your new template. People I've spoken to just have one spreadsheet they have for all the non-financial data. And then they simply just add on if it's a new set, or just overwrite the figures and then upload it. That's probably the most efficient way to do it. Another one here, can you use non-financial data in Xero where the actuals are pulled through with other financial data? I'm just going to reread that once more. Can you have non-financial data in Xero? Okay, yeah, so non-financial data in Xero where the actuals are pulled through with other actual financial data. Yes, I would imagine, because it just Futrli just simply pulls through the chart of accounts, the P&L and the balance sheet. So if you've manipulated those figures in Xero, so if you've got an account in income and it's showing your non-financial data, then yeah, just pull it through. So we just simply pull through the P&L and the balance sheet, and yeah, whatever is shown in there is what we pull through. Cool. That's all the questions that have come through. So you've got another 25 minutes if you've got any other questions to whack in. But it looks like we've gone through the majority of it. And like I said, just to recap, really, it's a great way to add extra wow factor, to keep using that cheesy title to your reports. But it's really straightforward. It's just a simple 4-column upload. And when it's then uploaded, you can really start to elevate the reports you're doing to your client. And as that comment said, you can blow your mind. So yeah, effectively, someone's just mentioned about non-financial data in Xero. Says no, apparently. But yeah, either way, we'll pull through exactly what's in Xero. So if you put a figure in there, we should pull through. But have a play. We don't pull anything other than the P&L balance sheet. As I mentioned, I'll send out the recording, all the collateral you'll need. Any queries, and by all means, get in touch. If you also have maybe queries when you're working in the app, you've got the support team at the bottom right of your Futrli account. You've got the little pink circle. Certainly use them as your maybe first port of call, or support@futrli.com, or reach out to your account manager. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks a lot.